Solve 3 times the quantity x plus 5 equals 2x plus 35. And we have steps 1 through 4. And the question asks, which is the first incorrect step in the solution shown above? So looking at step 1, it looks like we simplified the left side. So that means we need to multiply our 3 by each piece on the inside using the distributive property. So we would get 3 times x plus 3 times 5, which gives us 15. So this first step is correct. Looking at step 2, it looks like we're getting our x's on the left side. So how can we do that? Well, we would need to subtract 2x from both sides. And on the left side, we would get 3x minus 2x, which gives us x, and our plus 15. And on the right side, we'd just be left with our 35. However, step 2 says 5x plus 15 equals 35. So what did they do wrong? It looks like instead of subtracting 2x on this side, they just added 2x. So that's how they got that 5x. It's an easy mistake to make, but it means that step 2 is incorrect. And because step 2 is incorrect, steps 3 and 4 are also incorrect. And the question asks, what is the first incorrect step? So that would be option B. A 120-foot long rope is cut into 3 pieces. The first piece of rope is twice as long as the second piece of rope. The third piece of rope is 3 times as long as the second piece of rope. What is the length of the longest piece of rope? Okay, so there's a lot of information here. Let's try to visualize this. So let's think of this as our piece of rope, and we can divide it into 3 pieces. So we don't know the length of each of these 3 pieces, so let's create some variables. Let's say that f represents the length of the first piece. Similarly, s represents the length of the second piece, and t represents the length of the third piece. So this is our piece of rope, divided into 3 sections, and they tell us that the rope is 120 feet long. So using our variables, we can say that f plus s plus t equals 120. What other information do they give? They say the first piece of rope is twice as long as the second piece of rope. So writing that as an equation, we would say the first piece of rope is equal to the second piece of rope times 2. And the next sentence says the third piece of rope is 3 times as long as the second piece of rope. Writing that as an equation, our third piece of rope is going to be equal to our second piece of rope times 3. So now we know that f is equal to s times 2, so we can actually substitute that into the first equation. And similarly, t is equal to s times 3. We can substitute that piece into the first equation. And then we'll just have an equation with just s in it. So rewriting that first equation, we'll put in s times 2 for f, and then we have plus s, plus, and then we have s times 3 for t. And that's equal to 120. So now we have an equation with just s. Let's simplify it. So s times 2 we can think of as 2s, and then we have plus s times 3 we can think of as 3s. Okay, now we just have some s's to add up. Remember, it's just like adding up apples. We have 2 apples plus an apple plus 3 more, which gives us 6 apples. And we want to get s by itself, so we divide both sides by 6. On the left side, our 6's cancel, and we're left with s. And on the right side, 120 divided by 6 gives us 20. So now we know that the length of our second piece is 20. So we can write 20 up here. And using our equation for f, we know that f is equal to s times 2. Now we know s, and then we just multiply that by 2, and we get 40. So the length of our first piece is 40. Similarly, we can use our equation for t. That's equal to s times 3. So 20 times 3, which gives us 60. And since they told us that the length of our rope is 120 feet, it's a good idea to add up our 3 lengths to make sure they add up to 120. And 40 plus 20 is 60, plus 60 gets us to 120. So now we know the length of each of the 3 pieces, and the question asks, what is the length of the longest piece of rope? In this case, our longest piece is the third piece. It's 60 feet long, so that would be option C. The lengths of the sides of a triangle are y plus 1, and 7 centimeters. If the perimeter is 56 centimeters, what is the value of y? So this word, perimeter, that just means the distance around something. So in this case, we're talking about a triangle. So it's telling us that the distance around the triangle is 56 centimeters. So let's draw a triangle. And we can label the length of each side. We have y plus 1, and 7. So to find the distance around this triangle, imagine you start at one point, and then you walk across one side, and then you walk across the second side, and then you walk across the third side to get to your starting point. So how far did you walk? Well, the first side was 7 centimeters, the second side was y plus 1 centimeters, the third side was y centimeters. So to find the perimeter of any object, you just add up the lengths of all the sides. So the perimeter would be 7 plus y plus 1 plus y, and we're told this equals 56. So now we have an equation with just one variable in it, y, and since we can add numbers in any order, let's rewrite the left side. So we'll have 7 plus 1 plus y plus y. So this just grouped our constants and our variables. Now we can add each of those pieces. 7 plus 1 is 8. Y plus y gives us 2y. We want to get closer to getting y by itself, so let's subtract that 8 from both sides. That leaves us with 2y on the left side, and then 56 minus 8 would give us 48. On the left side, we have 2 times y, so we want to undo that. We undo multiplication with division, so we divide by 2 on both sides. On the left side, we get y, and on the right side, 48 divided by 2 gives us 24. And looking back at the question, it asked, what is the value of y? And we just found it, so we circle option A. Beth is 2 years older than Julio. Gerald is twice as old as Beth. Deborah is twice as old as Gerald. And the sum of their ages is 38. How old is Beth? Okay, a lot of information here. We don't know anyone's ages, so let's create some variables. Let's have B represent Beth's age. Similarly, we'll have J represent Julio, G for Gerald, and D for Deborah. So the first sentence tells us that Beth is 2 years older than Julio. Writing that as an equation, we would say Beth is Julio plus 2. The next sentence says Gerald is twice as old as Beth. So Gerald is Beth times 2. The next sentence, Deborah is twice as old as Gerald. So Deborah is Gerald times 2. And the sum of their ages is 38. So Beth plus Julio plus Gerald plus Deborah equals 38. And the question's asking, how old is Beth? So this is a bit of a puzzle, and the trick is to see that we can write each of these three variables in terms of b. So looking right here, g is equal to b times 2. So we can replace our g with b times 2. Similarly, if we can write our j and our d in terms of b, that means that this equation will only have b's, and then we can solve it. So taking a look at our first equation, if we subtract 2 from both sides, we'll get b minus 2 on the left side, and then j on the right side. So now we know that j is equal to b minus 2. So we can write that in our bottom equation, j is equal to b minus 2. Now let's look at our equation for d. It tells us that d is equal to g times 2. So is there any way we can rewrite this side in terms of b? Yes, we can. We know that g is equal to b times 2, so we can substitute that in. So for g, we'll just write b times 2, and then we'll have our times 2 at the end. 2 times 2 is 4, so we can rewrite this as d equals 4b. So now we've solved for d in terms of b, so we can place that in our equation below. And now we have an equation with just b. So we can solve that, and we'll know how old Beth is. So let's rewrite this. We have b, and then j is b minus 2, g is b times 2, and d is 4 times b. On the left side, b plus b gives us 2b. We have a minus 2, and then b times 2 we can write as 2b, and then we have a 4b at the end. We can think of this minus 2 here as adding negative 2. So let's rewrite it like that. We have 2b plus negative 2 plus 2b plus 4b equals 38. On the left side, we're adding 4 numbers. And since we can add in any order, let's go ahead and group our b's together. So we'll have 2b plus the next 2b plus 4b, and then we'll have our plus negative 2, or just minus 2. Now we can add up our b's on the left side. 2 apples plus 2 apples gives us 4 apples. 4 more gets to 8. So we have 8 apples. Now we just need to get b by itself. So let's get rid of that minus 2. We can undo that by adding. So on the left side, we'll just have 8b, and on the right side, 38 plus 2 gives us 40. Now we have 8 times b. Let's undo that by dividing by 8. On the left side, we get b, and on the right side, 40 divided by 8 is 5. So now we know Beth's age. Beth is 5 years old. And looking at the answer choices, that would be B. Stan's solution to an equation is shown below. Given n plus 8 times the quantity n plus 20 equals 110. And we have steps 1 through 6. And the question asks, which statement about Stan's solution is true? So either Stan's solution is correct, or he made a mistake in steps 1, 3, or 5. So let's take a look. Starting at the beginning. So it looks like in step 1, he got rid of those parentheses above. That means he used the distributive property to multiply that 8 by each piece on the inside. That means we would get 8 times n, or 8n, and then 8 times 20, which would be 160. So it looks like Stan multiplied the 8 by n, but forgot to multiply the 8 by 20. So that means he made a mistake in step 1. And looking at our options, that would be B. Option A is wrong. Stan's solution is not correct. And since Stan made a mistake in step 1, every other step after that is wrong. So we could say that steps 3 and 5 are wrong. However, the mistake, or the error in his thinking, was made in step 1.